My name is Craig Sire, and I'm the founder of Combative Martial Arts, also known as CMA. Today I'm going to spend a few moments talking about and showing some of the difference between combat ground fighting versus sport fighting, so you can kind of look at your training and determine what works for you and where your focus needs to be. For starters today, we're going to have Lori have the top position on Andy. Now we all know that a person in a top position, she has a great advantage strategically against the person on the ground. I will say though, from a street perspective, we often do see cases where the person on top does get rolled over to the ground. But for today, we're not going to focus in on that. So in this case, Lori's going to take advantage of her position. She's going to throw some power shots down on Andy. Bang. All right. Once she's throwing a couple power shots, we're going to see her go into a crossbody armbar. Very common sport application. But as we can see, that sport application, if he pulls a weapon out, very vulnerable to a weapon attack. It is also very vulnerable to a secondary opponent coming in, which we know many cases in combat, you do have multiple attackers. So while going for a submission looks really good and it worked great in the sporting arena, it does fall apart on the street. So let's take a look at what we should strive to do. Now Lori's still going to use her mount, and she's still going to get some power shots off Andy, which power shots on the head on concrete really well. So we're going to see a couple power shots, but instead of going for the submission, now she's going to stand up, she's going to clear the area. Notice now Andy's knife isn't stabbing into her, and the secondary opponent, she's in a much better position to deal with and can make things. So not ideal to go against two people with knives, but she's in a much better position now to deal with two knife-wielding attackers than she was when she was doing the crossbody armbar. So that's a good example of the contrast between ground fighting, where your objective is to get to the feet, versus submission grappling, where your goal is to go for a submission. Now, we're going to take a similar look at escapes from the bottom. Your escapes are often the same between sport and combat, but it's what you do with the escape that sets up the difference. So let's take a look at a sport versus combat application to someone who is bottom of the mount. In this example, Haley will be on the bottom of the mount and Ben will have her in the mount position. Going for a sport example, Haley strikes the head, does a hip lift escape. Once again, really common hip lift escape. She passes the guard while hitting the nerves on the inside, and then we once again see that crossbody armbar here. Okay? Beautiful armbar, but once again, the armbar is vulnerable to knife strikes from Ben, and a secondary opponent coming in can be stomping or stabbing as well. So Haley at this spot, very bad position against weapons and or multiple attackers. So let's see the exact same escape from a combat perspective. Once again, we see striking into the head, we see the hip lift escape. She passes guard, this time she passes a little different, and she gets up to her feet. As Ben pulls the knife, not as big of a threat, and Sarah also coming in, now she can stack them and go into some multiple things. Once again, we never want to fight multiple attackers armed with knives, but I'd rather fight them standing in this position than in the prior one where you get caught. Now you can actually do this against any submission and actually have practice. Can that person who's being submitted pull a weapon out? Can that person who's being submitted, how does a secondary opponent act on that? We chose the crossbody arm lock today because that's a real common one. But you can do any submission with this and see how easy it is while you're being in a submission to put somebody out with the weapons. So I highly encourage you, if you're interested in combat, add weapons and multiple attackers to the mix. Now your objective changes to get to the feet. Train it hard, train it well, but switch your objective to get to the feet versus submit, and you're going to find your combat skills start to go way up there. Thank you for your time.